Talking of short-term memory as a single, unified concept is like calling a multi-tool a mere flip knife. It's like saying pizza is made from pizza. It's time to find out what the short-term memory equivalents of flour, eggs, tomato and cheese are. And so we open our recipe book to Baddeley and Hitch's working memory model. This cognitive model proposed a new structure for short-term memory, though doesn't really say much about short-term memory's relationship with long-term memory. Anyway, here are the ingredients. The central executive, one phonological loop, one visual spatial sketchpad, and an episodic buffer. Let's start with the important sounding central executive. A great name, but not so much is known about this central element of the model. The central executive has been included in the model in an effort to account for the organization of information attended by the slave systems. You could say that the central executive is something of a line manager. It determines information, but doesn't do a huge amount itself. On to the slave systems and the hugely hard-working phonological loop, a temporary storage system for auditory information. The store can be subdivided into two parts: the phonological store, the inner ear, which stores what you hear, and the articulatory process, the inner voice, which rehearses words to keep them in working memory whilst needed. The second slave system is the visuospatial sketchpad, responsible for dealing with spatial and visual information. Compliments to the imaginative naming committee. The visuospatial sketchpad also has two constituent parts: the visual cache, which stores visual data such as shape and colour, and the inner scribe, which records the arrangements of objects and transfers information to the central executive, probably in the hope of an end-of-year bonus. The final slave system in Baddeley and Hitch's model is the episodic buffer. As with the central executive, less is known about this element of the model than the phonological loop and visual spatial sketchpad, but theorists included it in the model in a bid to account for the interaction between working memory and long-term memory. So, does working memory work as a model for memory? Well, aside from the limited information about the central executive and episodic buffer, yes it does. Baddeley and Hitch's own research using a dual task paradigm demonstrates that people are able to complete two tasks simultaneously if they are using different processing systems. But it becomes difficult to complete two tasks at the same time if they use the same slave system. Try these examples yourself and you'll probably get similar results. First, try to pat your stomach and rub your head at the same time. Both of these tasks employ the visual spatial sketchpad. It's hard. If you managed it, it took effort. Now pat your head and say the alphabet. Easy. You're still completing two tasks, but because one task relies on the phonological loop, whilst the other calls upon the visual spatial sketchpad, you're able to multitask with few or no errors. Evidence from the KF case study adds further support for the suggestion that the slave systems are not only operationally distinct, but anatomically separate too. KF experienced brain damage as a result of a motorbike accident, but whilst his verbal memory was impaired, his ability to recall and learn visual information was largely unaffected. Baddeley and Hitch opened the door to understandings of short-term memory being a complex interaction between several processes rather than a unified store. But this model is unlikely to provide the complete picture. Share your thoughts in the comments below and make sure you're subscribed to Psychology Unlocked for all the latest videos. For more videos, articles and revision aids, head over to psychologyunlocked.com.